In recent days, tensions have reached a breaking point. Iranian missiles have landed near urban centers in Israel, causing panic, destruction, and injuries. In response, the Israeli Air Force has launched a surgical strike against strategic targets in Iran, including military installations and intelligence centers. But what few are saying is that this conflict has roots much deeper than territorial disputes or political rivalries. There are global interests involved, silent alliances being activated, and military movements that are not shown in the mainstream media. And in the midst of all this, ancient words of the prophets seem to come to life, with details that are eerily aligned with current events. The words Israel, Iran, missile attacks, war in the Middle East, Jerusalem, biblical prophecies, and World War III have been trending on the internet. And this is no coincidence. There is a growing thirst for answers, for understanding what is really happening behind the scenes. Why has Iran stepped up its attacks now? What role has the United States played in this escalation? And how far is Israel willing to go to protect its territory and its people? These are questions that echo on social media, in international headlines, and most importantly, in the minds of those who closely observe the signs of the times. The truth is that while many are distracted by their routine, others have already realized that the world is changing, and fast. The increase in military activity, the deployment of American troops in the Persian Gulf, the tense silence of Russia and China, all indicate that a thin line is about to be broken. And when that happens, the impacts will not only be felt in the Middle East, but across the entire planet. The financial system, international security, the balance of nations, and even religious freedom could be deeply shaken. And that's exactly why you need to understand what's at stake. This video goes far beyond the news. We'll expose details that the mainstream media ignores, show invisible connections between world leaders, reveal hidden strategies, and, above all, delve into the spiritual and prophetic roots of this conflict. If you're searching for the truth behind the war between Israel and Iran, prepare yourself for an intense, revealing, and above all, urgent journey. Because the next steps in this conflict may not only shape history, they may very well be heralding the beginning of the end. And it all starts now. Sirens wailed loudly in Tel Aviv just before the explosions lit up the sky. It was a moment of absolute terror. Residents reported feeling the ground shake and seeing window panes shatter under the force of the impact. The attack, launched from strategic bases in Iranian territory, was coordinated with surgical precision. The aim was not only to cause physical destruction, but to send a clear message. Iran is willing to cross all limits. Images circulated on social media show scenes of pure chaos. Vehicles in flames, civilians running through the streets, families seeking shelter amid the rubble. In Holon, the hospital that was hit stopped part of its care and redirected patients to other areas, while doctors worked under great pressure to save lives. The airbase, considered one of the most important in the Israeli defense, suffered considerable structural damage, raising concerns about the country's vulnerability in the event of further consecutive attacks. This attack was not random. It was calculated, orchestrated, and launched at the right time to generate maximum impact, not only on the battlefield, but on world public opinion. The question remains, was this just retaliation or the beginning of something much bigger? What is behind this Iranian boldness in directly attacking Tel Aviv, one of Israel's most protected centers? Leave your opinion in the comments. Do you believe this is already the beginning of a global war? Comment with the word prophetic alert if you feel that we are seeing the fulfillment of something that has been foretold for a long time. Israel's response was not limited to the attacks. A strong statement by Benjamin Netanyahu was broadcast live throughout the country. With a firm tone and a direct gaze, he declared that any threat against Israel will be met with full force and that the country is prepared to take the war as far as necessary. According to him, the people of Israel will not be intimidated and will not retreat in the face of threats from the Iranian regime. This stance generated immediate reactions on the international scene, while Israel's allies, such as the United States and the United Kingdom, expressed their full support. Countries such as Russia, Turkey and China called for restraint, fearing that this confrontation could reach uncontrollable proportions. Social media exploded with amateur videos showing the moments of the bombings on Iranian territory. Terrified residents recorded the sound of fighter jets flying over densely populated areas, followed by loud bangs and columns of smoke. Panic spread quickly, and the Iranian government responded with an official statement saying that it will respond proportionately and immediately to any new Israeli offensive. Military analysts say that what we are seeing is no longer a cycle of attacks and counterattacks. It is a war that has entered an open stage and that could involve at any moment other powers and militias in the region. Do you believe that this response by Israel was proportionate, or was we facing a response plan that had been prepared for months? Comment below with the phrase, "just response," if you support Israel's stance in the face of the Iranian threat, and if you believe that we are on the verge of a global conflict. Write in the comments, "The world is at war." The international scene has plunged into unprecedented tension. With the escalation of direct confrontations between Israel and Iran, the United States has not hesitated to intensify its military presence in the Middle East. Two state-of-the-art destroyers have been strategically positioned in the Persian Gulf, equipped with long-range missiles, ballistic tracking radars, and technology capable of intercepting nuclear projectiles. In addition, US aircraft carriers have been redirected to the region, signaling to the world that Washington is ready to intervene if the conflict goes beyond conventional limits. In a statement made directly from the White House, President Joe Biden reaffirmed his unconditional support for Israel, making it clear that any use of nuclear weapons against the historic US ally will be considered a direct attack on American security. This scenario of opposing alignments is frighteningly similar to what we have seen in past global conflicts. On one side, Israel, the US, and NATO. On the other, Iran, Russia, China, and possibly North Korea. With each new statement, with each military move, the line that separates diplomacy from all-out war becomes more tenuous. Financial markets have already begun to react, with international stock markets falling and oil prices rising. Geopolitical experts warn that we are facing the kind of crisis that could redefine borders, alliances, and even economic orders. And it all started with the firing of a missile. Comment below with the phrase, "We are on the edge," if you believe the world is on the brink of a global collapse. And if you see a prophetic connection in these events, write in the comments, "The prophecies are being fulfilled." It is as if each military move is being choreographed by something much greater than politics and strategy. The very positioning of Jerusalem as the central focus of tension directly refers to the prophecies of Zechariah, which speak of the nations gathering against the holy city in the days of judgment. The growing hostility toward Israel, the diplomatic isolation on certain fronts, and the mobilization of armies around the promised land sound a spiritual alarm for those familiar with the sacred texts. In Revelation, there is mention of a time when the world will be on the brink of collapse, with wars, rumors of wars, famine, and natural disasters. And many believe that this time has already begun. Furthermore, it is not just the military scenario that is attracting attention. The climate signs, the political upheavals, the advance of ideologies contrary to biblical principles, and the global polarization indicate that we are in an era of prophetic transition. It is as if everything is fitting together on a pre-established timeline, like pieces of a puzzle that are completed before the eyes of those who choose to see. This is not about alarmism, but about recognizing that there are too many parallels to be ignored. Do you also feel that all of this was already written? Comment below with the phrase, "prophecy revealed," if you believe that current events confirm what was already announced thousands of years ago. And if you are following every detail carefully, also write, "I am observing the signs." On the other side, the Iranian regime has issued orders to position medium-range missiles near the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important routes for global oil trade. Any attack there could paralyze part of the world economy in a matter of hours. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, Hezbollah is making threatening statements, indicating that it could enter the conflict at any time. This new element further increases the risk of a war on multiple fronts, which would require an even more aggressive military response from Israel and its allies. The mood at the United Nations is one of diplomatic collapse. Emergency meetings are being called, but words no longer contain the advance of weapons. The general feeling is that we have reached a point of no return. Tensions are reaching such a high level that any isolated action, any miscalculation, could trigger a chain reaction. The words total war, preemptive strike, and strategic defense are now part of the daily vocabulary of the world press. And in the midst of this explosive scenario, there is Israel, fulfilling a role that seems to have been reserved for it since ancient times: to resist, fight, and survive amid the siege of hostile nations. This is the moment when history is written with fire and steel, and where every second counts. The world is watching, but few understand the spiritual and prophetic depth of what lies before us. The next offensive could redefine not only geographical borders, but the course of the planet. And here at Middle East Revealed, you are seeing it all in real time, with the clarity that the mainstream media fails to deliver. Comment below with the phrase, "The war has begun," if you feel that we have already entered a new chapter in world history, and write, "I am attentive," if you will continue following everything with me here on the channel.